Hi, um, this is another question from a subscriber, so I'm sending it out to all the subscribers only. Um, this is MIOTA coin. Its code is IOTA. And so I just had a question from a subscriber asking me to do an analysis. So the other thing that's helpful, if you're going to send in, requests to do an analysis of a coin, it's helpful for me to know if you could just tell me, you know, if you're holding it or if you're looking to get into it. And also, if you're holding it, you can tell me when and where your entry price was. And then I mean, you don't have to do that. I can just do a general analysis. But if you give me those sorts of details, then I can structure my analysis around your position. So, anyways, I'm just going to do a general analysis of this coin. The brown lines I've marked up support and resistance zones. So it's the same story with this coin. That initial day really seems to get a lot of volatility. This one went down and up, and then it's just faded over time like they all do. And so it's been in a long consolidation pattern. So this is the all-time low, and this support zone is based off of the most recent stuff. So the fact that it's down there kind of makes it more probable that this is the sort of medium to long-term low here. Also, if we zoom in on this, so you've had, this might have been the support thing, and then you've had a wash of that and a fairly violent retrace off of that. It's tried to come in again, and it's been bought off that. And so where the buying here wasn't very strong. Now at this retest of this wash, you started to get strength off the top of that. So strength is these blue buying bars that have air there. So air is untested price action. So there's air again. So I'll just show you how that looks on the candles. So, it's trying to make lows. So these retests generally work, right? When they fail, you got a low there and then a retest of the low, and it's kind of push off of that with strength. And so these areas of strength or air, when price gets down that, you expect to see buying support off that. So you didn't there, but air is a good place for buying support. Also, the test between two previous lows or highs is a good point. So halfway between, so you can see that was kind of, if you'd have got long there, you would have been all right. So this low's acted as support multiple times. So here you've got the low support, it comes down again, support, you get strength off of it this time, and there's air. And the air is not necessarily a long-term thing. So this air here, you got to bounce off that, but it doesn't really last. What's ideal is you want a wash of the pivots. So this was a wash of the pivots, and it was a very violent rejection. And so this wick now, wicks aren't just tradable anywhere. They're usually good indicators, but you want wicks in certain locations. So this is a low, and then this wick is a wash of that low. So what that means for me, especially in short-term trading, is that anywhere within that wick becomes a place to get long. And so you wait for price to come back inside that wick, and then you wait for buying pressure, and then that's where you can get long. So this is a good example. When I talk about you can just wait for price to come into this wick and buy it. The risk is you don't know how far it's going to go. Or you can wait for buying pressure and then buy at the break of that bar or a retrace of that bar. So the disadvantage is you're probably getting in at a lower price. The advantage is you're more sure that that's going to be the turnaround. But the point is within that wick was your entry for a long. And so, you know, retest of these lows with a wick, a wash of the pivots, which is good. You've had price come inside, and now you've got price getting stronger as it steps out. You see the upside pushes here are more pronounced than the retraces, right? This retrace is small, you got another push. So price is looking, you know, my short-term bias is up. So the reason that my longer-term bias is up is that, so this support line, you know, you've had a couple of tests here and a wash now, so this support line's kind of painted in, and it looks to me as though price is going to now push up and test the next level of support. And again, this is a lot to take in, but when you mark in support and resistance lines, you're marking in places where, you know, price comes down to support, it comes back up to resistance, it comes down to support. If it breaks through, then that becomes resistance. It comes down to the new support, pushes up to resistance. And it does that over and over again. This is the price discovery process. This is what, you know, when you look at a chart, you see that most of the time, but most of the time price is oscillating between support and resistance. I haven't marked the lines up here, but, you know, even, and it, you know, you go back, look, support, resistance, support, resistance, breaks through, you know, forms new areas of support, resistance, resistance, support. So this is fairly nuanced. I don't want to get too carried away with the details, but this is what price is doing. So given that price has had that many goes at support and rejected the support, now I'm looking for it to move up to the next area of resistance, which is, I've marked it here. So I think it's a fairly safe assumption that price is now going to move up to, you know, either this high. You'll probably see weakness at this high, but this high is probably what we would call, this is resistance. This is kind of like inside support. So if you see price come up and test resistance here, this green line will act as support if it's going to push higher. So I'm getting into a lot of detail here. The point I want to impart on you is that I think price is kind of done with the support level. It's going to push up to test at least this high here. Worst case scenario, so this green line I've painted in, this is kind of inside resistance, which will now act as support. So worst case scenario, I think price kind of cycles down here and you get some sort of a push off of here, but that may not happen because the buying now is getting stronger than the selling. So if you're holding this coin, and this is where your position is helpful, so if you're holding this coin, again, it matters what price you got in at too, right? So the more information you give me, the more helpful. But you know, if I bought in here, I would hold this coin now because my expectation is that you're gonna see a move up. The move might not be directly up. Again, it might cycle down, but my bias here is up. Let's see if yeah. So again, if let's say I'm in this coin, regardless of whether I'm up or down, where would I want to get out? I would say if price pushes outside of this trend line, retests and starts to push down again, then it's going to come back for these lows. And then so you could either cut it there or you could wait to see what it does here, again, you're probably losing money, because this is, unless you got in here, which is unlikely, if it pushes down, you're probably losing money. But I'm just talking about the price action of the coin. If it pushes down here, retests, and pushes down again, then it's going to come back and retest these lows. And so you'd need to see, when price gets down in between these two pivots, how much buying support there is. But again, I think that's lower probability outcome, that price pushes out of this trend line. I think what's more likely is there's air. There's air there. So I think expect price to come into this area here and then make another push up. But what you want to see eventually is you want to see price break out of this on the upside, retest, and then push up. So if price breaks out of that and retest this line, that's a good place to enter long for the move up to this high, up to this trend line. So again, if it does that and it retests and you get in for a long, now you have the opportunity to see what the price action looks like up here, so it depends on what it does up here as to whether you're going to hold it or whether you're going to sell it. If it starts to get weak and come back inside and retest here and start to push down, then that might be the time to exit. But the other thing I would say long term about this, I don't want to go on too long. I'm pretty sure I've done an analysis of this coin. It's not something I would include in the model portfolio because it's not really uptrending relative to Bitcoin. This is a consolidation. There's no, if you were to frame up this price action, it's not trending up. That's not what I'm looking for. It's kind of nuanced, but this really isn't uptrending yet relative to Bitcoin as far as I'm concerned. This is not enough to call this an uptrend relative to Bitcoin. So again, that's when something is in a longer term uptrend, then it gets included in the model portfolio. This is more of a short term analysis. My bias is for price to come up and test this area and this support line. So hopefully that's helpful. Again, I guess let me just sum up. Short term, this is my sort of expectation for the short term. Longer term, we'll have to see what that has to sort of be more. There has to be more of a defined uptrend for it to be like a long-term expectation that it's going to push higher. So if it does good things here, maybe, but that's not something that I would include in the model portfolio yet. But even though my sort of short-term bias would be for price to push up. But we'll see, and just always be malleable with trading, right? If price cycles down here and breaks out of here and that, well, then it's moving down, and then you have to adjust your bias for that, right? But my expectation based on this would be for price to push up. So I'll just try and give you an example of this is something that's in the model portfolio. So this is what IOTA is doing here, right? It's kind of maybe something like that. Although even that, this has got lots of peaks that you can form a trend line on here. So when it pushed out of there, you could go, all right, that's a breakout, and that's some sort of retrace. But that IOTA's got one peak, and then it's transcended along and kind of moving up. It's not really enough yet. So if IOTA comes up to the support line, breaks out and retest, yeah, I might, not only would I say there's a trading idea, but I might say, all right, this is now broken out of the consolidation and moving up, and I would move that into the model portfolio. So it needs to do something like that for it to be included in the model portfolio. So it's down here somewhere with my expectation to do that. So yeah, the short term bias is up, but then it depends on, if it comes here and then it cycles back down again, well, it's not uptrending, right? So you really need to see what happens here before I have a more bullish long-term view on it, if that makes sense. But this is something that I'm like, all right, this is obviously now uptrending in relation to Bitcoin, and we're just waiting for, I want this is in the model portfolio. I am in this, but for people that aren't in this coin, you want to be in this coin, and you're just looking now for, substantial buying support to get in. So, you could already be in it, but I'm telling people to wait because price is looking weak here, and I'll let it cycle down and then just see what happens here. If we get a big push up, then that would be the buying entry. But I'm just showing you this because this is an example of something that is in an uptrend relative to Bitcoin, and so hopefully you can see the difference between that and IOTA. Anyways, I hope that's helpful. Sorry, I hope I didn't get too much into the detail there. Again, for all the subscribers, please feel free to email me any questions or suggestions or comments or anything like that. And anytime you do have a request like this, it takes priority over anything else. Thanks again for subscribing to the service and supporting the channel and my work. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm here to serve you. So if you need anything, please let me know. Thank you.